love Kinako. I feel like I should start with that. But I also think she embodies a lot of what went wrong in Superstar Season 2. Right from her reveal, Kinako was both exactly the sort of character I expected a Liella Gen 2 to have, and one I also kind of felt like would inevitably fall into the background. By all accounts, Kinako is a character that just makes sense for Liella. Since the ending of Season 1 implied Season 2 would be during the original Five's second year, I expected a new member who'd be sort of a baby of the group. The Kohai the older members would all dote on, which is a role Kinako fills well, and from reverse bios it was clear that's what she was going to be. But then right from those initial bios, she also appeared to have a lot of traits reminiscent of characters that tended to fall into the background in their shows, like Hanyo or Hanamaru, the shy, quiet girl who wants to be an idol and stand out, the quiet, bookwormy type girl, and in Hanamaru's case, the sort of country bumpkin type character. Shizuku kind of fits into this archetype a bit, but they kept her in the limelight by running with the theater kid aspect of her, also just making her a fucking degenerate in Season 2. And when they needed to introduce 4 main characters, 5 technically because of Margaret, but we didn't know she'd exist going into Season 2. Being an archetype that tends to fall into the background in these shows was not a very good sign. All the pieces were in place for Kinako to either be an interesting addition to the cast, or a completely forgettable one. With Season 2 having finished over a year ago now, Jesus, which one ended up happening? Both? Kinda? When it comes to her role in the story and how well she integrates with the other members, Kinako is only really contested by Mei, whose integration into the series I've talked about before. The first 3 episodes have Kinako as the central figure, basically co-leading alongside Kanon, and it works really well. As an outsider of the club and the world of Superstar as a whole, having just moved to Tokyo and being relatively well adjusted compared to the state the main 5 were in at the beginning of Season 1, even if still a bit lacking in confidence, she provides an interesting look at the group and series as a whole as they are coming off of Season 1. We see how the other new girls, intentionally or unintentionally, helping her join, and then in Episode 2, her trying to get Mei to join. While the original 5, especially Kanon, quickly come to adore their new Kohai. Her stuff early on is also the only time I think are the new members gonna hold us back shit they try and milk throughout the season actually works. For one thing, we actually see her struggling and pushing herself to keep up with the training regimen, which adds to the idea of the group intimidating a lot of the new students knowing the work that's needed to keep up. Then, finally, the first performance she's in Universe, is one they lose. And the first performance we see with her is Go Restart, a deliberately low-key and amateurish looking song in terms of aesthetics, but also an upbeat one meant to portray the group as still having a way to go, even if they are making progress. Early on, Kinako works quite well. In Episode 3, which is entirely about the group, especially Kanon, worrying they've grown stagnant, she serves as an important reminder of where a lot of them started. A reflection of aspects of Kanon and Cuckoo in particular. That episode is about Kanon and the group realizing how they've made progress even if they don't always feel like it. And part of that progress is getting to a point where they can now help someone with similar issues. Again, albeit a bit less extreme in Kinako's case, she's more well put together than basically any of the other members, new or old. All this is stuff I love, and the sort of things I was really hoping to see in Superstar Season 2. The issue is, these 3 episodes are the only ones where she's really relevant. I actually really like this stretch of episodes following Episode 3. In fact, while I don't mind the first 2 episodes, I think the third is where the season really gets going, and despite a lot of issues cropping up, I think it maintains a really good amount of steam until about halfway through Episode 11, where the bottom just falls out. But I think it was this stretch of episodes that doomed Kinako to falling into the background like the others of the Hanyo archetype before her. After Episode 3, she just doesn't get to do much. In episode 4, despite the setup, she doesn't really contribute much to Mei and Shiki joining. In episode 5, she's not all that relevant. And in episode 6, while her country farm girl background is shown a bit, which is cute, don't get me wrong, and she gets a nice scene with Natsume, but by this point everyone's complained about it. Despite said scene seemingly setting her up to do it, Kanon ends up being the one to get through to Natsume and convince her to join. Which, I've talked about this before a bit myself. I actually like the idea of Kanon doing it, and think the idea of an episode exploring the first year's desire to keep up, while Kanon and Chisato come into their roles as club moms, is a really great one. But needing to give everyone screen time and having a musical number meant it all got rushed, and Kinako got it the worst of the 4 main characters in that episode. On the song, actually, Vitamin Summer is a fun number, but it also kind of makes the whole "are the first years not able to keep up with the second years" thing feel really pointless after this, since, like, yes, they can. They look identical in the song choreography-wise and stuff. I think an episode, like I mentioned, that actually got to explore the second years growing into being good senpais, while the first years realize they are able to keep up, would have been a perfect point to end this plotline. It should have been the end. There was no reason for them to keep it going beyond milking drama, which is why it comes off so forced after this point. Yet, at the same time, when that collective, the first years need to keep up plotline is like the last cling to relevancy Kinako has, it's not a good sign for her. After episode 3 is where Superstar really starts struggling to balance its expanded cast, in my opinion. And while a lot of characters get it bad, I'd argue Kinako gets it the absolute worst besides Ren. Kuku, Shiki, and Natsume all have gags that enable them to at least get moments in episodes where they aren't relevant. Kinako just kind of becomes part of the group after her arc, without much to distinguish her. Her most notable moment outside the scene with Natsume is when she joins the student council in episode 8, which I actually like a ton as an idea. Her being set up as Kanon and Ren's successor is really fun, and I think the 3 could make a fun dynamic. I honestly thought they were going to be a subunit before those were announced and Kinako was revealed to be part of Chisato's band of misfit idols. But again, not only do they not really do anything with it, but it also means she's not even able to be part of the more entertaining takoyaki truck plotline with the other characters. After episode 11 first aired, I actually had a moment where I realized they could have made all of this work. For the briefest of moments, I had the thought, what if they actually have the balls to have Kanon leave? Kinako being set up to kind of act as Kanon's successor would have been more impactful if they did this. With Kanon gone, she would likely have to fill the role of the group's heart in her place. Being the other one already on the student council would mean she would likely become Ren's vice president, which would also be a fun dynamic since she'd kind of have to take Kanon's job of making sure Ren doesn't destroy herself constantly. And while we've seen Kanon is up for that, would Kinako be? It'd at least make for a really interesting episode. Plus, her and Chisato would both have to step up in Kanon's absence. Since as early as season 1, they've been setting up the idea the group relies on Kanon too much too. It would retroactively make her being set up to recruit Natsume, and Mei too, but not actually being the one to do so. Not her being robbed, but actual foreshadowing. With Kanon gone, she probably would be the one doing it in season 3 with whatever new members they added. Plus, with Tamari being Natsume's sister, her and Natsume being friends adds even more reason for Kinako to come in and inspire her. For just a moment, I thought things would actually all fall into place. Kanon would go to the school, with or without Margaret, and season 3 would have Kinako and Chisato needing to handle the group in her absence. It'd also make the main conflict less can Liella win twice, which, as I've discussed when they rushed over and wasted the group achieving this the first time, there's no way to make me care again for a second. Instead more, can the girls win Love Live again without their ace? Which is compelling. And then I remembered, wait, this is Love Live, they'd never actually have the balls. And they didn't. It does seem like Kinako is going to be important to Tomari, based on that relationship chart that was released, which is an idea I like a lot, like I've said. But with us now having 11 main characters, Kinako really needs some strong roles and a focus episode on her side right now to at least get her in a Ren tier in terms of usage, and Ren is generally considered pretty wasted still. Superstar is a show with a bad habit of characters falling to the background. And unlike the likes of Kuku, Sumire, and Ren, she didn't have an entire season with only 5 main characters to establish herself in. And unlike Shiki and Natsume, she doesn't have a strong gag, even keeping her slightly relevant or memorable in episodes where she's not important. Kinako made the most sense as a new character to add to the group, but I can't help feeling sometimes like her inclusion was almost an obligation over any real sort of idea anyone had ambition for. She's a great character in concept, and a cute one I like a lot, but right now she's easily the most wasted character in Love Live Superstar. And that's saying something since there's a lot of competition there.